Savannah, 5, from Hancock County, Indiana, is being hailed online as a hero after saving her father's life following an absolutely hilarious 911 call. The little girl noticed that her father was having trouble breathing and immediately called for help. She was quickly connected with dispatcher Jason Bonham, who helped Savannah care for her father until help arrived. Savannah remained surprisingly calm throughout the event, which impressed both Bonham and the paramedics who came to her home. However, the resulting phone call between the two of them is now among the cutest things anyone has ever heard. When Jason picked up the 911 call, he was completely caught off guard when he heard the voice of a little girl on the other end of the line. He quickly understood that it was not a joke and that it was very serious, but he still had a hard time taking the call seriously. 5-year-old Savannah's father had a serious problem, and Jason quickly dispatched paramedics while staying on the phone with Savannah. The conversation they had is one that Jason and everyone who listened to it afterwards will never forget. The conversation was absolutely hilarious in a situation that should never have happened. Ultimately, Savannah was considered a hero by many people. Today, millions of people listened to the conversation she had with the emergency dispatcher. But what made this conversation so hilarious? And how did it get to this point? One evening, Savannah was snuggled up on the couch with her father. It was late, but Savannah hadn't been able to fall asleep. Her mother was away on business, and Savannah missed her terribly. To appease his daughter, Savannah's father allowed her to stay up late. But problems are looming on the horizon. Although Savannah is usually in bed by 8:30 p.m., tonight was an exception, and her father will always be grateful that he didn't send her to bed earlier. They were watching Frozen together, Savannah's favorite movie. Savannah's father made her promise that she would go to bed after the movie. Even though she still missed her mother, Savannah accepted. They turned on the movie and sat on the couch with popcorn. Savannah didn't feel tired at all. It was especially his mother who missed him, so she was happy to let herself be carried away by the music and animation of her favorite movie. Savannah's father decided it was good to have some impromptu time between father and daughter. He will always be grateful to him. In the middle of the movie, as Elsa leads the children's choir, Savannah's father decides to go make more popcorn because movies are better with popcorn. Savannah didn't make much of it. She just sang along to the movie. That's when Savannah hears all kinds of noises coming from the kitchen. First, Lulu, the family dog, rushed into the kitchen and started barking. This is nothing extraordinary for Lou, but the dog has not stopped barking. Savannah initially told Lulu to shut up, but Lou didn't listen. Savannah then called her father to see what was going on, but he didn't react either. Savannah paused the movie and decided to go into the kitchen to see for herself. She even stopped in the middle of the song, which she wouldn't usually do. Lulu kept barking, and she yelled at him to shut up and wait. But as soon as Savannah walked into the kitchen, she knew right away that there was a big problem. Savannah immediately knew something was wrong when she found her father lying on the kitchen floor, surrounded by all the popcorn. She rushed over to him to try to help him, but her father continued to take his chest. Savannah called him by name, but he didn't answer. She doesn't understand what's going on. Savannah kept asking him what was wrong and why he was on the floor with all the popcorn, but he couldn't tell her. During this time, he was making strange noises coming from his throat. Was he choking? Or was it something else? Savannah knew she had to do something quickly, but she's not sure what. Savannah, who was only 5 years old, noticed that her father was having trouble breathing. She realized that he couldn't speak and that he was clinging to her chest. Little Savannah was very scared. as you would expect in such a situation. However, she is intelligent, and her parents taught her what to do in such a situation. Savannah was not allowed to use a cell phone, nor did she know where her father's phone was. But fortunately, her parents had prepared Savannah differently. His parents had always kept the wall phone in the kitchen for situations like this, but the phone was mounted very high on the wall. Savannah ran to get a kitchen chair, which she then pushed against the wall so she could reach the phone high up. His parents had strictly told him that this was only allowed in an emergency. She quickly climbed onto the chair and grabbed the phone, hoping that the cord was long enough to reach her father, who was on the floor. But she realized one thing. Savannah initially thought about giving the phone to her father before calling 911, but she realized he couldn't speak and was having trouble breathing. Also, the phone cord was probably too short to reach it. Savannah swallowed and made the decision to call 911 herself. After dialing the 911 number her parents had taught her, she realized she needed to be her father's spokesperson and get help from the phone company, which would eventually lead to the famous and hilarious recorded 911 call. Fortunately, her parents had informed her a little about what to expect. Knowing when to call 911 and understanding what to do in specific emergency situations can save lives. Parents, spouses, and children should all know how to respond and what to expect when calling 911. It is best to prepare children from an early age and give them in-depth knowledge as early as possible. Even when children are very young, it's wise to teach them what to do if they need help. Savannah's parents had explained to her when she was a little girl that if she or someone else needed help, she should go to the nearest trusted adult. But that night, the only adult present was Savannah's father. Luckily, Savannah knew that by calling 911, other people would come to help. Savannah hurries to dial the numbers. Operators quickly put it in touch with the right service. Soon, she talks to Jason Bonham. Jason was shocked by Savannah's young age, and he knew he had to help the little girl overcome this frightening event. Jason has been working as an operator for 11 years, but he has never dealt with a caller this young, and he was surprised at how well Savannah spoke and stayed calm. He realized that in order for her to remain calm, he had to ask the right questions and inform the girl of what she needed to do in the right order. But Jason was mostly surprised because it reminded him of something similar that had happened in his own youth. He knew what could happen, and he wanted to try to stop Savannah from going through what had traumatized him as a little boy. He quickly began asking her questions to avoid a similar experience. Jason, now 37, told a reporter that he thought it was fate that allowed Savannah to talk to him on the phone. When he was young, Jason had already found himself in a similar situation in 1990. He was only 7 years old at the time and still had a slight trauma of what had happened to him. Soon after, he even started seeing a psychologist to deal with what had happened, as the event had been very frightening and traumatized him. This ordeal inspired him to become a dispatcher later in life, because he wanted to do his part to pay back what happened to him as a child. In the evening, in the middle of summer vacation, somewhere in the 90s, while Jason was playing in the living room with his favorite toys. It was a night like any other, and Jason had no idea what was going to happen. It was then that her mother collapsed, appearing out of nowhere. She was lying on the floor, right next to him, and wasn't moving. Like most children, he panicked. His father worked late, but fortunately, Jason had also learned to call 911 at a young age. But in his experience, he had made a mistake. He would try not to let Savannah make the same mistake he made a long time ago. Jason's first task is to ask Savannah about his father's symptoms. Savannah, as lucid as ever, managed to ask her father what was wrong. Slowly, laboriously, Savannah's father was able to communicate to her that he had heart pain and difficulty breathing. Savannah passed this information on to Jason. In the recording of the call, which has gone viral, Jason reassures Savannah that help is on the way. The sweet little girl relayed the information to her father, keeping him informed of this scary moment. However, Jason quickly had to calm her down when a disturbing thought came to his mind. Savannah suddenly became worried about whether she and her father could stay in their pajamas while the paramedics were on their way. Before all this started, she and her dad wore their pajamas and had a sleepover watching Frozen. Savannah thought her pajama shirt was too big and not appropriate. Wanting to be polite and well-mannered, she decided to go to her room to change. However, Jason quickly informs her that it is vital that she stays with her father until help arrives in case something happens. Despite her young age, Savannah understands and conscientiously does what Jason tells her. Seeing a parent in pain and distress is a life-changing experience for anyone. But at the time of the call, Savannah was just 5 years old. The situation could easily have become unbearable, and Jason knew he had to help keep the little girl in her current state of calm. In the transcript of the call, Savannah and Jason can be heard getting to know each other a bit. Jason knew it was important for Savannah to stay on the phone, so he knew what was going on in the house. So he started chatting with Savannah and getting to know her a little bit to pass the time. Jason managed to strike a good balance between keeping the little girl calm and talkative, as well as interested, but also keeping her informed about monitoring her father's health. Jason knew he had to be careful, as he didn't want to scare Savannah. He needed her to be as cooperative as possible. As a chat, Savannah introduced Jason to her dog, Lulu, much to everyone's delight. Savannah describes Lulu as a friendly dog, but also as a dog that barks a lot. The conversation made the other dispatchers hysterical. Scroll down to listen to the video clip and get the full experience. Savannah could have talked about Lulu forever. She also told Jason about Frozen. Jason had no idea what Frozen was, but he was happy to listen to Savannah talk about the movie, as long as she kept him updated on his father's condition. So the conversation went a little haphazardly. What happened to Jason all those years ago? When he was a child, paramedics arrived quickly to help his mother. But what had traumatized him was that no one had told him to open the front door. When the paramedics wanted to enter, they started yelling at him to open the door. The poor 7-year-old had been paralyzed with fear and had not been able to move to open the door for them. Even though he had approached the door, he had no idea what to do. This caused her to lose a crucial minute for her mother's health. The paramedics were unable to open the door. When Jason was finally able to move, he couldn't find the key. Meanwhile, his mother was still unconscious on the floor. It was a crucial minute and a traumatic experience for Jason, who was 7 years old at the time, when paramedics had to slam the front door glass to get into the house. Jason will never forget this horrible moment. When paramedics rushed into the building, 7-year-old Jason was shocked and felt terribly unhappy that he couldn't open the door and cost his mother such crucial moments. Now, Jason wanted to do his best to ensure that Savannah did not suffer such trauma. At one point in the conversation between Jason and Savannah, Jason asked Savannah if she could open the front door. He wanted to be 100% sure. Savannah said yes, and Jason breathed a sigh of relief. Jason later recalled, "Luckily for Jason and his father, paramedics quickly transported his mother to the hospital. She was rescued and made a full recovery afterward, but she was also told that they shouldn't have waited another minute or they would have lost her." Jason will never forget how close she came to death. Savannah stayed on the phone with Jason for nearly 10 minutes, while paramedics rushed home. Savannah bravely kept Jason informed of his father's condition, while he supported her in this frightening situation. The only time Savannah left the phone was to go unlock the front door, which Jason gladly allowed. One of the paramedics, who preferred to remain anonymous, stayed with Savannah, knowing that the girl needed someone to accompany her until her mother could be contacted. Like Jason, she was impressed by the little girl's composure and charming personality. "I hope my kids will act as quickly and smartly as Savannah in a situation like this," the anonymous paramedic told reporters how wonderful Savannah was. She also told reporters that Savannah had been a real soldier in getting the dog out of the paramedics' way. "We were lucky that she unlocked the door. And Lulu, the dog, wasn't too annoying, even though Savannah was right. Lulu barked a lot," the paramedic continues her story. It turned out that Savannah had the idea to subdue Lulu in advance so that the paramedics could work. Savannah knew how Lulu behaved with new people. So, when the paramedics arrived, she grabbed Lulu and kept him away. It prevented him from running in front of the paramedics' feet or hindering them in their work, which consisted of saving his father. Savannah knew what was going on. There was a girl holding her dog and comforting him. The paramedic told reporters the most touching part of the story, painting a beautiful picture of Savannah and her dog. Meanwhile, the paramedics are scrambling to get her father into the ambulance. Savannah remained so brave. After the other paramedics took his father away, I had an important question to ask him. As a paramedic, I was confronted with a large number of situations. And when it comes to children, the way they react to such events is always very different. Fortunately, Savannah kept her cool, calm, and serene, said the paramedic who stayed with Savannah. Savannah chose to accompany her father to the hospital. Savannah wanted to be with her father. The paramedic told Savannah that she couldn't go to the hospital in her pajamas, which meant she would eventually get a chance to change. She had a few moments to choose her outfit, and then they left. "Most people are hysterical when you talk to them," he said. "Every time I listened to the call again, it was incredible." Later, Jason said that he was impressed by Savannah's calmness, despite a terrifying situation. The call never fails to make you laugh, and it can be used for training. Jason was eventually able to hang up the call, leaving Savannah in the expert hands of the paramedics. But he couldn't help but wonder how the story had ended. Savannah was the bravest 5-year-old girl he had ever been around. He was very emotional after this call and wished nothing but the best for Savannah. Jason couldn't stop thinking about how his own mother had come close to death. Although he was lucky, and she was properly taken care of, he was also aware of the importance of time and the limited means available to his mother. He hopes Savannah's case won't be so terrifying. Fortunately, little Savannah didn't have to deal with the situation alone. Jason, then the paramedics, accompanied her throughout her journey. Savannah has shown incredible courage and composure, but the emergency services have proven to be heroes, responding to hundreds of calls like Savannah's every day. Ambulance services are there for people who are going through the worst times of their lives. Dispatchers, drivers, paramedics, and hospital staff are learning to stay calm when other people panic. Many of them choose to do these jobs because they know how important they are, and they feel called to help others. Thanks to Jason, little Savannah was able to help her father and was only responsible for him for 10 minutes until help arrived. Jason did everything he could to make sure Savannah was in control of the situation. He could have ignored his worries, but perhaps it was fate that he was the one who received the call. Supporting local ambulances and paramedics is a good way to give back to the community. They are always there to help, and when we need them, we really, really need them. Paramedics and dispatchers have a job that can be very taxing, but it's always exhilarating and comforting to see that everything works out in the end. It's rare for children to know exactly what to do and stay so calm during such an accident. At the hospital, the news spread quite quickly, and when Savannah arrived with the paramedic, she received a warm welcome before visiting her father. Savannah kept a cool head throughout the crash. A nurse said afterward, "We should try to teach our kids and prepare them for situations like these, so that if something terrible happens, other kids handle the situation exactly like Savannah did." She is an excellent example of good education. The nurse goes on to say, the prior actions of Savannah's parents saved Savannah's father that day. Savannah stayed with her father as much as possible. When she couldn't be with him, she brightened the days of the nurses and others in the hospital while she waited. She has been said to be a positive and passionate soldier. Everyone who met Savannah was impressed by her behavior. As soon as Savannah's mother was informed of her husband's hospitalization, she rushed home from her business trip to be there for her husband and daughter. Thankfully, everything went well for Savannah's father, thanks in large part to his mother's clarity and level-headedness. Savannah was the real hero of the day. Savannah's father has made a full recovery and is now telling everyone how his daughter's quick thinking saved her life. The experience hasn't left Savannah with any fears or worries, and she's just happy to be reunited with her father. But the whole family feels safer knowing that if something bad happens, Savannah will be there to help save the day again. The paramedics were really nice, especially the lady and the man on the phone, Savannah later recalled. She doesn't consider herself particularly brave. She just did what she knew she had to do. She was very grateful to everyone who helped her and will probably never forget them. When a local reporter asked Savannah if she would ever work for 911 emergency systems or if she would like to become a paramedic, she simply replied that she felt more suited to becoming a dog trainer and would like to try to teach Lulu not to bark so much anymore.